Over the weekend, I had the opportunity to see the one and only Rolling Stones live in Cleveland as part of their Hackney Diamonds tour in support of the album of the same name, which, if you haven't heard, is a truly phenomenal rock record. Anyways, here is how the show went. To start, I just got to say that I can't even believe that I had the opportunity to see such a legendary band in 2024, a whopping 62 years into their career, with Keith Richards and Mick Jagger both being 80 years old. I believe Mick Jagger even turns 81 next month. And Ronnie Wood, who's been in the band since 1975, he's 77. So it's really just mind-boggling and hard to wrap my head around that I was even there. Anyways, we get to the venue on Saturday night, and I'll try to make this part quick, but man, I got to tell you, the Cleveland Browns Stadium was just so not prepared to hold a concert, let alone one of this magnitude. I'd been there for a show a couple of years ago. I went to the stadium tour with Motley Crue and Def Leppard, but of course, the Rolling Stones is just on a whole nother level. Absolutely insane, and the stadium was just so not prepared, to the point someone even told me, which I'll get into in a little bit, but someone even looked at me and was like, "This is why Cleveland sucks." My fiance and I decided that we were going to get our drinks before we went to our seats, which were on the field level, so that we didn't have to get up at all during the show to go get anything or anything like that. But my God, was the pre-planning a mistake, which I'll get into in a second. Because like I said, our seats were on the field level of the stadium, but of course, the Brown Stadium has no field access other than emergency exit. And so you have to go down these super narrow steps on the lowest bowl of the stadium with a million people trying to go up and down at the exact same time. So it's super crammed, but we eventually make our way down. It's like 100 steps or something going down. We get to the bottom, to the entrance of the field, and there's a lady standing there that tells us not only do we need to pour all 6 of our drinks, we had 4 beers, 2 water, we had to pour all of them into cups, which, why serve beer in cans and water in bottles if it just has to be poured into a cup later on? Makes no sense. But anyways, not only do we have to pour it into cups, we also had to have a wristband to get onto the field, which there was no clarification anywhere. Nowhere in the stadium did it say you had to have a wristband to get onto the field. I mean, it was myself, my fiance, and like a million other people trying to get onto the field, finally make our way down there, only to be told you're not getting in without a wristband. So eventually we're standing there waiting for like 20 minutes. The opening band, Ghost Hounds, they're playing, but we're not even paying attention. We're trying to figure out this whole saga of getting to our seats. My fiance decides that she's going to go all the way back up. I'm going to watch the drinks. And I swear to God, as she gets to the top of these steps, which took like 5 minutes because there's a million people, mind you, the supervisor comes over. He tells the lady, "Hey, nobody needs wristbands anymore." So I text her. I'm like, "Hey, you got to get down here. Like, we're good to go." And mind you, this is like 10 minutes before the Rolling Stones go on. So she makes her way down. We finally get to our seats after a debacle that went on for like an hour or something. And we end up talking to this couple behind us, and they told us that they had to wait in line just to get their wristbands for 2 hours. I mean, just a total mess, absolutely ridiculous. You know, when you get to the gate to get inside the stadium, you gotta scan your tickets. Why not have one of the people scanning the tickets give you a wristband? They're looking at your tickets. They can see that you're on the field. Why not just hand out wristbands then? It makes no fucking sense. But anyways, I'm rambling. I digress. Let's move on. Like I mentioned, in the midst of the whole getting to our seat saga, the opening band, Ghost Hounds, they're from Pittsburgh, they were on. But again, we weren't really paying attention, even though we were inside the stadium for like 3/4 of their set. But what I can say, from what I heard, they sounded absolutely phenomenal. I was only familiar with their song called Last Train to Nowhere, which of course they played. I believe that's like their biggest song. And it sounded great. All in all, I guess I would say it's exactly what you would expect from a band that was opening for the Rolling Stones. The Stones, of course, have support that varies from date to date on this tour. They had the Pretty Reckless, I think, open the Vegas date. Joe Bonamassa did a show or two, Gary Clark Jr. It would have been pretty cool to see one of those bands open up for the Stones. But nonetheless, Ghost Hounds was awesome, and I'll definitely be checking out more of their stuff. Moving on to the reason we were all there, though, the screens on the stage turn into diamonds, and suddenly you just hear a voice go, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Rolling Stones!" Keith Richards comes out, plays the opening riff to Start Me Up. My God, did I just get goosebumps. I'm 29 years old, so obviously I never got to see the Stones in their heyday, but I gotta say, with how phenomenal this performance was from start to finish, I'm not convinced that the Rolling Stones aren't in their heyday right now. Just an absolutely incredible performance. To see Mick Jagger walk out in this bright green sparkly jacket and just start singing Start Me Up, my God, what an experience. I'm so grateful to have. The set list was excellent. 19 songs and about 2 hours long or so, give or take a few minutes. And aside from the main three, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, and Ronnie Wood, the rest of the band was equally fantastic. And the backing band consists of keyboardist Chuck Leavell, who's been in the band since 1982, backing vocalist Bernard Fowler, who's been in since 1989, French horn and keyboardist Matt Clifford, who had an initial stint in 89 and 90 before returning in 2012, bassist Daryl Jones, who replaced Bill Wyman following his retirement in 93, Tim Reese on sax since 99, Carl Denson also on sax, who joined in 2014, drummer Steve Jordan, who replaced the late great Charlie Watts upon his passing in 2021, and last but certainly not least, backing vocalist since 2022, Chanel Haynes, who, of course, also performs co-lead vocals, doing, of course, the female vocal on Gimme Shelter. Gimme Shelter was almost certainly the highlight of the show for me, at least performance-wise, because Chanel's voice, her vocals are just on another level. I can only play a second or two, but here, check this clip out. It's just absolutely insane. She is clearly a powerhouse vocalist. But one thing that I did notice and find to be pretty interesting is that, look, Mick Jagger is, like we said, 80 years old, 81 next month, but it still sounds amazing. Nobody has an excuse to sound bad when you look at a guy who's 80 years old and sounds absolutely incredible. But being up there at that age, at the same time, you can imagine he doesn't sing quite like he used to. Maybe he skips a word here or there or whatever. But what's interesting and commendable to me is that it felt like Chanel throughout the whole show would maybe hold back a little bit so that she didn't overpower or overshadow Mick Jagger. Or maybe, like I said, if he skips a word or he phrases something a little bit differently, she kind of does the same thing so that she keeps the spotlight on him the entire time, because she's a true pro, other than in Gimme Shelter. I mean, she holds nothing back on that one. Lets completely loose, and my God, is it insane. It's worth the price of admission alone just to hear her batshit crazy, insane vocals. One other quick thing I recently learned about the song Gimme Shelter that I did not know is that the woman who recorded the original female vocal on the song, a woman by the name of Mary Clayton, she was actually 4 months pregnant when she recorded the vocal for that song, and unfortunately she had a miscarriage the day after she recorded, the strain of her performance of which she attributed to causing her miscarriage. Just crazy, crazy stuff. And I had no idea the song had quite a backstory like that. Anyways, some of the other highlights of the show include the 3 songs that Keith Richards sang lead vocals on, which were Tell Me Straight, Little TNA, and Happy. And I got to be honest, I would be lying if I said that I didn't tear up a little bit when he started singing. My grandma was a hardcore Stones fan. She knew every single thing that there is to know about the Rolling Stones. And one of the last things that we ever watched together was a Keith Richards documentary. So needless to say, him coming out, having the spotlight for 10, 15 minutes, whatever, it definitely choked me up a little bit. I also had every intention of calling her back in 2021 when Charlie Watts died, because I knew that would be a big deal to her. But unfortunately, she herself passed away literally like 2 or 3 days after Charlie Watts died. And I never had the chance to call her. The moral of the story is pick up the phone always and call someone whenever you have the chance. That's all I could say about it. Time is way too short. Anyways, one of the other cool things that they've been doing on this tour is a fan-voted song that takes place about 5 songs or so into the set, where they have this thing on stage that has all of the options that you could have voted for, which I believe the options vary from show to show. And in Cleveland, the options were You Got Me Rocking, Emotional Rescue, Live With Me, and Heartbreaker, which is the one that won. They, of course, finished off the show with I Can't Get No Satisfaction, capping off an absolutely incredible performance from start to finish. And what I thought was super cool is that all of the musicians on stage, after Satisfaction, they do this big group bow, and then the main 3, of course, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, and Ronnie Wood, they come out to the front of the stage, and they do a final bow with just the 3 of them to close things out. And, you know, the one thing I forgot to mention is that, you know, when you watch these guys play on stage, everybody's smiling, they're laughing, they're having a good time. They all appear that they want to be there. And yes, of course, you could argue that they're getting a massive paycheck to play these shows, which they are, but you know, they're 80 years old. And some of these cities, they're doing 2 nights in a row, but there's still 3 days off in between each show. Clearly, you know, it's hard for them to be out there, but these guys are true musicians. They love their craft. They just want to go out and play some fucking rock and roll. And that's how it's done. They put literally almost every other band I've ever seen to shame. And I can honestly tell you, I've been to so many concerts in my life. This is hands down the best concert I have ever been to. If they ever tour again, which this could very well be their farewell tour. It's not called a farewell tour, but it could be. And truth be told, at this point in their career, any Stones show could be the last show, hypothetically. But if you get a chance, go. I would absolutely love to see them again. Hands down, best show I've ever seen. Just incredible from start to finish. And to answer the question posed in the title of this video, should you go see the Rolling Stones in 2024? Goddamn right you should. All right, though, I gotta run. My fiance is waiting for me to shoot my Hackney diamonds inside her, so I gotta go. But thanks so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you next time.